Thank you for joining us this morning. I want to talk to you about your brief, first of all. What a furore yesterday with the situation with firearms officers and the Metropolitan Police. The Prime Minister saying that they are entitled to have more clarity on kind of what their legal status is in terms of these weapons. You know, where are we with all of this? Because there were genuine fears yesterday about whether the capital was safe, for example, if there was a terror attack or similar.
Well, let me start with London. The situation in London was that we did always have the cover needed to respond to terrorist incidents if one had occurred, for example. We did have for a period of about 48 hours from Saturday, later on Saturday until yesterday afternoon, Monday afternoon, cover from the armed forces, and I'm very grateful to the armed forces for providing that support. But a combination of officers, armed officers, returning to firearms duties and indeed mutual aid from other forces around the country meant that the army weren't required from later on yesterday, and the police are providing that cover exclusively today. So there is public safety is being covered. But more broadly, I think there is a reasonable point that police officers are entitled to have clarity over how they will be treated when force is used. I think it's critical that the police are supported by the government and others to ensure that where force is used, protecting the public, the police are treated fairly, reasonably and quickly, because it's vital that the police can do their job. It's vital the police can protect us, including, for example, in pursuing criminals. And this government will make sure the police are enabled to do their job and don't suffer from either unreasonable investigations where something happens or investigations that are very, very protracted. It definitely serves the public interest to make sure that the police are able to protect us, to protect the public where that needs to happen, without the police needing to worry unduly about legal jeopardy.
And so as the policing minister, can you stand there and say that the police will get sufficient legal protection in carrying out their jobs?
Yes, we will make sure through this review that the police are able to do their job, protecting the public, looking after each and every one of us without being at risk of unreasonable legal jeopardy. Now, of course, there needs to be process to make sure that the police conduct themselves in a way that is proper, but that can't lead to unreasonable investigations, and it can't lead to investigations that hang over officers for years and years. It's not in the public interest that happens, because we need the police to be out there proactively protecting the public. I was at the Police National Memorial Day in Cardiff on Sunday with the Home Secretary and policing leaders from around the four corners of the United Kingdom and families of officers who have given their lives in the line of duty protecting us. I think we owe the police a huge debt of gratitude for the risks they take on our behalf, and we need to make sure the system is reasonable and proportionate when it in turn protects the police who are doing their job.
How reasonable is UN asylum rules? We're going to hear the Home Secretary talking about those today. Is she on it when she says they've helped in this day and age create the refugee problem?
Yeah, so the Home Secretary is giving a speech later on, I think in Washington, D.C., setting out how the way that the asylum rules have been interpreted, really, over the last 50 or 60 or 70 years, have been the elastic has been stretched. And according to some analysis, by the CPS, 780 million people could, in theory, qualify. We've seen people who are essentially economic migrants seeking to use asylum claims. We've seen around the world borders being crossed by enormous numbers of illegal immigrants. The US border, of course, I think is seeing well over 100,000 people a month crossing it. I think even so far in September this month, it's 140,000 already. We've seen, I think it's around about 200,000 people or more crossing into the European Union illegally by boat and other means. So we're seeing very large-scale illegal migration, and that is not sustainable. Where it's happening for essentially economic reasons, it's not acceptable. And where people are essentially shopping around, trying to sort of choose which country to seek protection in, to claim asylum in, that is not reasonable either, because Article 31 of the Convention says you should only come directly from a place of danger to claim asylum. And in our own case, the case of small boats from France, it is quite clear that France is a safe country. You don't need to get into a dinghy and cross the English Channel to flee danger.
Yeah,
in
but
France,
I mean, there
France
you have
is,
the
as I say,
Home
safe.
Secretary.
So that's why we've.
Go on,
that's why we've legislated domestically to say that. So domestically, we've legislated in the Illegal Immigration Act to say that if you come from France on a small dinghy, you can't claim asylum. And I think other countries around the world should consider similar measures, because these movements of people are just so enormous.
Well, we know they only arrive on dinghies because there is no safe or legal route. But I mean, I go back to the point, there she is in Washington on this international stage where presumably you want to have international cooperation. She's saying people should stay in the first place that they reach safety. Well, we've got a reporter in Lampedusa in Italy. They're overrun with migrants there. What are the Italians going to make of what Suella Braverman has to say?
Well, I mean, first of all, many of the migrants arriving in Lampedusa obviously had embarked from countries on the North African coast, which are not their countries of origin. Many of the people arriving in Lampedusa are from sub-Saharan Africa, and they travelled through other countries like Tunisia, Algeria, countries like that, Libya as well, but that isn't very safe, but Algeria and Tunisia more so, before embarking on that journey. You made a point a second ago saying there are no safe and legal routes. I honestly don't think that's true. If you look at some of the countries where there is genuine danger, and look at what the United Kingdom has done to provide protection, it's been very generous. Just in the last few years, last couple of years, we've seen, I think, getting on for 200,000 people from Hong Kong that we have welcomed here, fleeing persecution by the Chinese Communist Party. I think it's getting on for 200,000 people, women and children mainly, from Ukraine, who we've welcomed to the United Kingdom. We've welcomed, I think it's about 24,000 people from Afghanistan in the last 2 years, fleeing the Taliban. That is more Afghans coming via a legal route, I stress via a legal route, than have come to any other European country. So this suggestion that the UK doesn't help people in genuine need is, I must just respectfully say, completely nonsense.
OK. Minister, final point, HS2. Stop it or continue it?
So no decisions about HS2 have been made, and I'm not going to speculate about what they may decide. What I do know is that there have been significant cost overruns, as people know. The estimated cost of building the line has gone up a lot. And as I understand it, the Chancellor and Prime Minister are looking at those cost overruns and looking at ways of trying to get the cost back down, which taxpayers would expect. But no decisions at all have been made. I think that's important to say.
Policing Minister, good to get your thoughts this morning. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.